Okay.
Give everybody a little extra room.
To the left there, or something that's.
Yeah, I got mine all there. I can't lose them. Those are the two people we shifted over for.
Oh, there's Mayor. Mayor, you're up here. Up there? Yeah. Sorry, I just shifted everybody down.
That's right.
This is why we have to craft a final report.
Good to see you. All right. Sorry for being late, I apologize.
No.
Sorry, Madam Supervisor.
All right, so before we begin, hello, welcome. Welcome everybody in the audience. Welcome to those joining on Zoom. Kevin, can you confirm that there are people on Zoom with us?
There are people on Zoom.
Great, thank you. So I want to first, before we get into this and we start the agenda, I want to thank my fellow town board members, all of whom were consequential in helping us move this legislation forward to create the Traffic Mitigation and Safety Task Force. Yes, when I came into office, it was something that I wanted to do. I observed a lot of the traffic issues that have been getting worse each year, it seems, especially since the pandemic. It's even sort of worsened since then. But I really wanted to do something, and each and every one of my colleagues on the board worked together. Thanks to Supervisor Moore, we got it done. We passed the resolution, and here we are. We're not going to solve every single problem that we face in the town. And I think I just want to set expectations before we lean into all of the material. We're not going to solve everything, but we're going to talk about as much as we can, and we're going to try to do the best we can. This particular legislation was charged with doing three things. One, identifying and studying known heavily trafficked corridors, be they primary or secondary roadways, collect information from the public and traffic professionals regarding potential solutions, mitigation, and prioritize recommendations relative to those roads identified. And finally, devise and issue a final report with findings and varied recommendations to be presented to the town board at a regularly scheduled meeting. Now, therefore, be it. The goal here is really to see what works and what doesn't work. Thanks to some of the folks who are already on this task force, we have Chief Kiernan, who's done a great job keeping our community safe. Tom Houghton, who's our town engineer, has done great work with Tom Neely. And Charlie McCardle, our highway superintendent, who's really been doing great stuff with short-term solutions, be it the cone program, the blinking yellow light program. These efforts, whether they be long-term or short-term efforts, are really meant to help us create a blueprint for where we go next as a town. And that's the purpose of this task force. This is how I imagine the final report, which will be authored by this board, by the way. We're not contracting out to somebody to write it. It's going to be this group that's going to compile information together. Tom Neely is here. He's a great writer. He's going to be doing a lot of writing. Charlie McCardle is going to offer great insights. We have a lot of different ideas that we're going to be throwing around out there, and we're going to be compiling in the final report, which will be the blueprint going forward. There's other things that I think we need to be cognizant of. We have to be aware that it's not just about solving the traffic congestion. We have to solve the housing crisis. That's a major aspect to this. How do we address that in the final report? We need to also address the LIRR. It's one of the reasons why we are so thankful to have Assemblyman Fred Thiel, who is joining us and who has decided and wanted to participate in this task force. So thank you, Assemblyman, for being here. We really appreciate having you here, because the South Fork Commuter Connection is taking cars off the road. It's helping workers get to where they need to go. So how do we expand that program? How do we get the assistance and the help from the state to get that done? Also, we have a need for greater public transportation. I previously worked for Suffolk County Legislator Bridget Fleming, and during her tenure, she had dealt with austerity from the top of the county government that cut public transportation services. And she was proactive. She engaged right away, got the right people together, and they implemented an on-demand public transportation bus. and that brought back some services where they had where it was cut. And that's an interesting micro-transit model of public transportation. So we have Suffolk County legislator Ann Welker, who has taken Bridget Fleming's place, to be here and help us at the county level. So what you see here is an intermunicipal synergy that I'm trying to build and bring together. From all layers of government, across party lines, that doesn't matter. What matters here and now is the welfare of the public and the quality of life of all of our residents here in Southampton, because I have heard it, I have seen it. People are growing tired of the traffic. They want solutions. And like I said, we're not going to solve everything, but I'm confident with this task force, these individuals, and not everybody's here, unfortunately, but I know that with these individuals, we're going to get something done. And that blueprint is going to be made, and I'm confident with the chairs, Charlie and Tom, they're going to do some great work leading us in the right direction for this town. So with that said, I'd like to move on to the first item agenda, which is introductions. So we'll go around, everybody will introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. So,
Maria Moore, Supervisor, and I'd like to thank you, Michael, for your leadership on this. And I'm very confident that with all this brain power in the room, we're going to come up with some good solutions. And thank you all for taking the time to participate and help us out here. I think it might be good to have a round table next time instead of sitting at a panel, because we're not reporting on something. We really should be treating it like a think tank. So we'll see about that and see how it goes today.
Thank you. Ann Welker, Suffolk County Legislator, formerly Southampton Town Trustee. Thank you, Michael, for drawing together this amazing group of people, but thank you sitting in the audience and those on Zoom for stepping up and stepping in today to discuss a definite challenge for our community, and not just for our community, but for those that are traveling to and from each day. So happy to be part of this discussion.
I'm Charlie Bartha, Commissioner of Suffolk County Public Works for my second tenure. I spent 34 years with the county before that, 20 of them in the Commissioner's office, either as Chief Deputy or Commissioner. Spent 17 years in the private sector then. Just when I was leaving, we did the improvements on County Road 39 to make, in the around 2006, 2005. And I am probably the only person here who does not live in the town of Southampton, but I'm a fringe person. I'm in East Mauritius. So for 50 years, and I've been coming out to Southampton to visit friends, and I've spent a lot of time in Southampton. So between that and my public works experience and interaction with the town for many years, I have a pretty good understanding of problems. And as a department, we're prepared to bring a lot of things to the table as far as data, ideas.
thank you.
Fred Thiel, Assemblyman, 1st Assembly District. I represent East Hampton, Southampton, Southold, portion of Brookhaven, and the independent nation of Shelter Island is also in my district. So I'm glad to be here today, and thanks for bringing us together. And the traffic issue, obviously, and it's more than traffic. I think we do have to look at it as transportation. How do we move people, and what alternatives are out there? And I think all levels of government have a role to play in this on the South Fork. So thank you for your efforts here.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Neely. I was Transportation Traffic Safety Director for the town of Southampton from 2005 to 2021. I currently consult for the town on transportation issues. Most notably, spend most of my time on the South Fork Commuter Connection train and bus service. And I do want to make a special note with Assemblyman Thiel sitting next to me that when Fred was our town supervisor in 1995, he appointed me to the Transportation Task Force at that time, which became part of our 99 comp plan. And so I've been involved with Fred and a lot of the folks in this room since that time.
Charlie McCardle, Highway Superintendent, Town of Southampton. I just want to say this does look like a all-star team, so I'm hoping that we have some short-term and long-term solutions to the traffic problem.
I'm Thomas Houghton, Southampton Town Director of Municipal Works and Town Engineer.
Jim Kiernan, I'm the Chief of Police here in Southampton Town. Nothing frustrates a public servant more than not being able to fix a problem immediately for the people that live here. And traffic is our number one complaint at the police department. So I am looking forward to seeing everybody work together and find these solutions.
Thank you. I'm Bill Manger. I'm the mayor of the village of Southampton. And, I stood at the train station right here in the village when Steve Ballone, the former executive, announced that he was putting together a request for proposals on engineering firms and planning firms to figure out what we can do with County Road 39 to really improve it. And I think that's really key, especially to us in the village. We want to see cars remain on 39. We want 39 to work as the highway that it was intended to be, so that we don't have people at the end of the day using ways to come through village residential streets where, we never used to have traffic, and all of a sudden we have bumper-to-bumper cars outside of people's driveways. And it's very tough on those people that live there. They cannot, leave or enter their homes during the evening rush hour. They plan their day around the evening rush hour now. This is a quality of life issue. We have to address it, and we have to fix County Road 39. Thank you.
Stephen D'Angelo, lifelong resident, business owner, own North Sea Hardware, which is on North Sea Road, which seems to be getting a lot of attention right now with the proposed repaving going on. And I was asked by Michael to be on the board, which I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. I certainly am aware of the traffic challenges we've seen grow over the past couple of decades, few decades really. And I'm anxious to hear what everyone has to say to cure the problem.
My name is Jason Cordy. I am here because I was a former captain and lieutenant in the Southampton Fire Department. So I kind of been asked to be here to bring a first responder or fire rescue perspective to the table. I'm a lifelong resident of Southampton. And the problems are bad enough in normal conditions, but when you throw in any kind of incident, crash or some kind of fire department activity or EMS activity, the problems quickly compound. And there are certain challenges we face whenever we have to conduct operations on, namely County 39, but any roadway really. So hopefully I can contribute as needed. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Thank you all for your participation in this. There are a couple of people who are missing. Donna Kronberg, Southampton Ambulance, she couldn't be here, and Bianca Collins, councilwoman from the Shinnecock Nation. But this is being recorded, so they'll catch up on the recording, and if any of you want to revisit what is being done here, you are able to on Sun TV's channel on YouTube, which captures our meetings. So I wanted to move on to, obviously the next section on the agenda says overview and function of the task force. I kind of already reviewed that. This is 1 out of 6 meetings. So the next meeting that we will have will be our second meeting. Maybe we will think about how to restructure it so we could be in more of a conversational position with one another. But I think 6 meetings is good because it allows us to have a timeline and be a little bit more aggressive in finding out what we're going to do. And it keeps us also having the end goal in mind, collecting information and creating the final report. The next point on the agenda is current town priorities. And each of the sections discuss the determination of priorities. How do we make and determine our priorities? That's number 1. Then we'll take a look at how we define, looking at traffic congestion and traffic safety, and then discuss some of the next meeting topics. So I was hoping our task force chairs can help lead a discussion on the determination of priorities. What should we be looking at, and how should we be measuring what comes at the beginning and what becomes secondary? And then we can kind of break off into like a free discussion for the next 10 minutes or so. Or
Okay, Charlie? you wanna jump in?
So, one of the concerns we have is that, and I hope Charlie will speak on it, and Charlie, welcome back after your furlough there. So we have a study going on 39, and the highway department, in conjunction with the police department, has what's known as the cone program at Canoe Place Road, where we set up the cones, we blink the light, and we move the traffic through Hampton Bays, down through, and this is in the morning, going east. It works very well, but on the same note, we had concerns, will it affect the true value of the study on 39? If people are drawn towards Hampton Bays because the cones work, and believe me, it works, because we have people taking Dune Road to come out over the Ponquag Bridge, to come out on Canoe Place to save time. One of our concerns was, will these small pockets of temporary solutions affect the true study of 39? So we asked the county, and the county said that they weren't concerned about that portion of it. But the problem I see is that you have short-term, and we have some ideas on short-term, all of which take manpower, which costs money. And then, of course, we have what we hope to be the long-term. Now, if anybody, and I'm sure Fred will speak on this, anytime you talk about plans and studies, you're talking about a long time. They've had studies that took multiple years to even get the study done before anything was actually put in place. So I think this committee needs to focus on two things: is the long-term solution, and can we institute short-term solutions so people aren't so frustrated? You know, at Town Hall, and this is just one example, they can't fill spots for employment because the number one question is, how long will it take me to get here? And that's just Town Hall. You have private business owners, you have, multiple people that it's the biggest concern, which will jump back to some of the things about housing and workforce housing, which is a whole separate topic that needs to be addressed. But I think that the committee needs to focus on what they can do short-term without affecting the study. And then clearly, when the study comes out, hopefully have an aggressive, fast solution. Tom?
Thanks, Charlie. I think picking up on the thought of the County Road 39 study, I'm also very appreciative that that study is underway now. Having read the RFP, I think it's actually, although the focus is on 39, looking at some of the locations where traffic counts are being done outside of the County Road 39 immediate area, I think there may be some real benefit to looking at kind of the broader corridor. I know that's not the immediate charge of that study, but I think we've long identified the County Road 39, State Route 27 Montauk Highway corridor as being critical, and improving the flow of traffic on the county roads and the state roads has always been, I think, a critical element of this, to get people back on those roads. I think we have to be realistic that as far as the roadways go, these have inherent design issues, if you will, that they're not, limited access highways. These are roads with multiple driveways, multiple intersections. I think we're going to be able to make some improvements, but I think our improvement in getting people around is going to be a combination of, hopefully some infrastructure improvements, some elements of public transportation, as Michael and Assemblyman Thiel know very well, such as improved Long Island Railroad transportation, looking at transportation demand management strategies to basically change, a little bit of people's travel habits. And I think we'll get to that when we talk about traffic safety in next meetings.
So would public transportation, housing, would that sort of fall under the column of longer term solutions?
I think absolutely, and I'm glad you, reminded us or said about the housing. There are issues, there's land use issues, there's other things that can, long-term help improve the ability for people to get around.
And I just want to add one thing, that this is not just about AM, this is about PM too. The PM is so important, especially to the village, that if we are able to increase the flow on 39, like the mayor said, people would stay on it. And the same thing with the North Sea area. You have all of Sabonic that gets eaten up because nobody wants to come out off Sandy Hollow onto 39 because it's backed up. But if we improve 39 on the PM side, I think there'll be some great advantages. you know, they talk about the workforce housing and so on, you know, it would help, but it puts a burden on other things, the school districts and some other issues. But I guess we're here for one thing, and that's to get the traffic going.
And I'd like to add to that, I think our task here is to improve traffic flow, improve the ability of people to get around, but we have to do it safely. Right? We cannot get away from the fact that this has to be done in a safe manner.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tom Houghton, could you please tell us on a short-term note about the cone program, what you found with respect to the results at the Canoe Place and intersection?
When we looked at the cone program, what was it, fall of 2021, Charlie?
October, yep.
October 2021. Canoe Place was an absolute slam dunk, to put it that way. Canoe Place absolutely works. When we ran building maintenance personnel in the morning. We had trips coming from Quogue to Watermill and on both 39 and on Montauk Highway. The data that we saw out of that was that anything that was happening on 39 had not much of a measurable impact on blinking 39 lights, as opposed to how the impact of the Canoe Place light affected the southerly route. So the Montauk Highway was fantastic. 39, not so much during that. We also didn't blink every single light on 39, so there's some play there that really kind of hampered the overall flow of that corridor. We did not blink the North Sea Road light, nor the David White's Lane light, nor the 39A 27 light either. So those three lights were still operating normally. So there's really no way to know if we had like a straight up cannonball effect that would allow people to travel all the way through to East Hampton because those lights weren't blinked.
So the data you have, it's the raw data that you've looked at. You didn't have the opportunity to formalize it in a report yet?
Yeah, due to the staffing issues that were previously mentioned, I can't even get traffic engineers to work for the town of Southampton because they won't travel out here. It's an hour. It's an hour from Riverhead. We looked at the raw data. We came up with a couple graphs. We saw the Canoe Place worked. We reinforced that. Charlie's done a great job there. But that was kind of where it ended for us because we had so much else to jump on.
And let me just add to Tom, it was a tough week. We picked a week. We had rain. We had a bad accident on 39. It wasn't, in my opinion, enough for a true study.
It was also October.
Yeah.
October into November. The numbers that I have, like, you can clearly see when it was raining. It is night and day if it rains. That was unequivocal. And also, we didn't account for some of the, there were some things that we didn't imagine that would happen, such as like school bus being waved across 39. So whenever that school bus came up, that traffic was stopped on 39 to allow the school buses to come across. It wasn't as controlled as one would hope. So paired with accidents, paired with weather delays, paired with it being the fall season, the flow that you see in late October is not July. So there's just a difference in volume that is hard to quantify when it comes to actually delays in travel time. So.
And just point out, that was 2022, not 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank
Time
you.
flies. And I think those are real-world situations, Tom, as you talk about the rainy days, or Charlie, the accidents. These are the other things that impact those travel times
And the study,
constantly.
of course.
And the study, right.
Just to clarify, the impact that the rain had was,
Faster. So I think
okay,
it.
I
Yes.
figured that, I just wanted to.
I'd have to check the numbers, but it was over 10 minutes.
I think unlike most places where rain slows traffic,
Exactly.
out where we are, and we often talk about the trade parade.
Sure,
I'd kind of
landscapers,
like to.
pool guys, sure.
We have folks that work inside, and we have folks that work outside. And I think
Right.
that's another way to kind of look at that.
Sure.
You know, your inside people, your teachers, your administrators, your electricians, your plumbers, and you have your outside people. And they can be very affected by, by the weather.
So, it sounds like what I'm hearing, the way we determine the priorities here might be a regional, it sounds. sort of a regional process, because this is all surrounding County Road 39.
I think if I might add, one thing that we might want to also look at is Route 24 in Flanders
Just
in the
gonna say,
morning.
yeah.
It's gridlocked for the most part with the addition of the traffic lights. For the past 5 years, I've been commuting out here for over 10 years now, and it was kind of night and day once the lights went in. So that's a timing item that would, I keep trying to get the state to look at it. We look at it, but it hasn't been able to actually allow 24 to move like it used to. 24 p.m. also backs up heading west at the first light.
Tom, could you just please tell why you have such a bird's eye view of this?
So I commute by bicycle to town hall from Flanders. So
From
it's
Flanders.
the same amount of time.
Wow.
So whether by bike or by car. So I pass all these cars, morning and night. Yeah, so kind of get. I don't see any 39 traffic because you can't ride bikes on 39, but all the Montauk Highway stuff every day.
So, one of the questions you brought up, 24 in Flanders, from my understanding that sort of the problems there also became apparent because of the traffic lights. Sort of reminds me that I've been hearing a lot of people say that the traffic lights need to be synced up in a better way. That they'll turn red and there's congestion building up, and then it's sort of throwing the balance of the traffic flow out of whack. Have we
so
looked into that?
Those are timing questions. We do check the timing on them periodically when people call up. We'll check the timing again. There are cases where the sensors in the roadway, they burn out, or something on the light actually malfunctions. The state goes out and fixes it.
Is the sensor is that a weight sensor?
I'm not sure what type of sensor the state has. Sometimes they're magnetic, but
I guess I'm not just speaking about 24, but I guess across the town of Southampton, are our lights, do they all have accompanied weight sensors, or what do they look like? Do we need to improve all of them?
yeah. So the majority. Here's the thing. Everything that we're talking about are on state and county roads, for the most part. All of those lights are state and county lights that the town maintains.
Right.
We don't control the timing. We don't really control anything other than making sure that they're operational. We have contracts in place to repair them when they go out, or if they get knocked down or cause of an accident or anything like that. But all of that is through the state and the county.
We've asked before, and the county and the state have brought people in to count the times, measure the times, and so on. Montauk Highway by the college is always a big concern, but if you happen to be waiting at that light not on Montauk Highway, you're going to be pissed off because you're waiting a long time. So the county has been very helpful, the state has been very helpful, and we do our best to keep those lights in sync. What happens is we've learned this. You do a good job on Pleasure Drive, and it gets the people into Hampton Bays faster, and then they're in traffic in Hampton Bays faster. When you get them through Hampton Bays faster, they're backed up in Southampton Village faster. The week that we did that study, we pushed them through Watermill until they got to Main Street, Bridgehampton, and they were backed up from Main Street, Bridgehampton into Watermill. I guess the next meeting we'll have East Hampton Town here to explain how the traffic is bad there. But
Wayne Scott, you won't even
yeah,
get to East
exactly,
Hampton.
exactly. Look, I know for a fact that and I can only really make a statement about the Hampton Bays. And I use this phrase a lot. It was in the beginning. It was almost like insider trading. Like everybody wanted to know, are the cones going to be there? And it was like you got the tip. Are they going to be there? Everyone gauges their time based on those cones. So when you have no cones and they're leaving at 5:30, 6 o'clock to get to the hospital or to Southampton School, then you put the cones there and now everybody has an extra half an hour. That's times everybody. I think one time we counted 6,000 cars went past us at Canoe Place. So when 6,000 people realize that the cones are there, they can leave a little later. And if you're doing the same thing on Flanders Road, it's just moving everybody to their destination a little bit faster, but it clogs up the next area. To your question about the lights, yes, those lights were put in for a reason, because people couldn't get out in the morning of those side streets.
Right.
Now, and I hope Jimmy doesn't get upset with me, but then you have everybody taking the middle lane trying to beat the traffic, and it becomes a police issue or an enforcement issue. We did some cones on Pleasure Drive for a week. We did what we did on, and it worked very well, because the people on Pleasure Drive couldn't get out of their driveway either. Same thing as what you have in the PM in the village. So we were able to clear Pleasure Drive out, but then at the light in Hampton Bays, it became an issue, so.
Could I, just one last thought on the traffic signals?
Before you go, I just want to let
Yeah.
everyone know on the panel here, this is a free-flowing discussion, so feel free to just butt in.
Just the, as, so everyone has like a basic understanding, the county and state road signals have sensors on the side roads. You were talking about weight. It is activated when a car pulls up on a side road, activates that signal to cycle around to let them eventually get a green. When I was here, we always worked with the county and the state to make sure that the east-west flow was always maximized and the folks on the side roads kind of had to wait. I will say in the village, there are a number of signals that are just pre-timed. They don't have in-ground sensors. I don't know if it's all of them, but for example, the one right out here in front of Town Hall, there are no sensors in the ground to activate. Those are just preset, pre-timed signals that, you know, and that's how they operate unless you have an engineer come in and change the timings in winter and
Yeah,
summer and
yeah.
morning and all that. They don't have that sensor capability.
Tom Houghton, the data that you've collected for the cone program, are we able to see that data? Are you able to put it together for the task force to take a look at?
If that's something the task force wants, then yes.
What do we think? Would we like to see that?
Well,
We can make
yeah,
sense.
I think we'd like to see it, but is there, how did you compare it? Is there something on like the Google Maps or something that can show what the length of travel time is historically? Is that something that you can just, because to do it at the end or the beginning of the season doesn't seem like a good measure of what the traffic is. So.
Yeah, I would caution us to, we did actually during the study record the estimated Google travel times during that. Tom looked at it every morning.
Okay.
But I would caution about using that as a historical benchmark of what the traffic was like that day. We can't go back. You can only look at stuff like that day of, but it's still not exactly indicative of how long it would actually take to get somewhere.
So you couldn't say on, June 1st,
Nah.
2022, it took this long to get there.
The only
and
thing we
now
really
with the
could look at
cones-
are the state counters on 27 for those previous days, but that's a volume
That
number.
gives you the volume, the
So-
Google
Yeah.
Maps, and Tom and I talked about this when we did the blinking signal. And I did track it on Google Maps from Macy's to Town Hall and Macy's to King Cullen in Bridgehampton for 4 months during our test. I've actually continued to do it. So I've got a whole pile of Excel spreadsheets since then. But the Google Maps data is taken from pings from phones, and then they use algorithms. They don't release exactly how they come up with their numbers, but it's a combination of actual data being, pinged off of people's phones as they drive by Macy's and, get to Town Hall or whatever, as well as algorithms of, I guess, the history of what the travel times along the roads are.
I would very much hesitate to rely on anything like that, though, in a study.
I mean, I do think it's indicative, it's not, because it does reflect, for example, accidents, it reflects rainy days, but yeah, I wouldn't isolate one day and say, this is it. I just think it's kind of complementary to some of the other traffic count data, which is basically, I think we have traffic count data from the fall of 2022 during the test, and we have the log books from some of the folks that worked for Tom, and I had a couple of people from East Hampton who also submitted log books. So certainly would be worth looking at that stuff.
Certainly, at Suffolk DPW, if we don't have it already, we'd like to see that data, and we understand the limitations and how it was collected.
Are businesses required, any businesses along County Road 39 required to have done traffic studies that are more recent? I'm thinking particularly of the light at McGee Street and the business there. Like, just because we're looking back a bit, and I think we can all agree that our volume has increased each year.
Well, our consultant now will be taking all these counts, so that'll be done, much more, I'll say precisely, according to accepted standards.
But I think we already have perhaps.
Yes, we did a
Set it.
study on the McGee Street light. I'd also not like to duplicate any efforts that the county is already undertaking
Right.
in this entire area. So,
Yeah, let's coordinate and make sure we're not both trying to do the same thing.
yeah.
I was just looking at the fact that we may have something that's already been done that's more current than what you're looking back at before the county study comes out.
Yeah, so I think the McGee Street light was 2021, 2022, we did the study.
I did
So that's going to be associated with the Star Aqua Center improvements.
And there have been some studies that have come in front of the planning board related to some developments, that we could look at. There are 2 or 3 developments going on that corridor right now that traffic impact studies have either recently been completed or are getting close to being finished, so.
Just so it gives us a range
Yeah.
as we're looking at things while we're waiting for the county study.
I know Charlie's going to give us an update on the county study in a minute, right? But everything so far that's been talked about is really very temporary, and we hope it's very temporary, because from a police perspective, blinking lights is not ideal. And it's necessary at this time for different reasons. One, it's not just a convenience to the public, but it's our economy out here to keep people moving. It's also when people are stuck in traffic, there's violations all day, the whole rush hour. People are riding in the middle of, in the turning lane, very dangerous, on the shoulder, very dangerous. So it really takes a lot of our resources to enforce those things and keep people safe. And then when you have things flowing, a lot of that goes away on its own because it's flowing naturally. But then, the county engineers don't put traffic lights in a place that don't need to have traffic lights. So they need to cycle the way they're intended to cycle. But that's why these things being discussed really have to be short-term. And we definitely need that traffic study and whatever's going to happen as that long-term solution to be pushed forward as fast as we can.
Infrastructure improvements.
Infrastructure.
Permanent
Yeah.
changes.
I would just add that, yeah, I think really the county road has to be re-engineered in many ways because it was built for a certain capacity that obviously it's met and far surpassed. So, and the biggest problem is the lights. I mean, I had one resident come to me and suggest a big rotary at the intersection by the college, Shinnecock Hills Golf Club, and County Road 39, like they do in Riverhead. And they said at least that would keep the traffic moving. It wouldn't come to a complete stop when the light turns red. I think having a complete stop is a real problem. And if there was a way to keep the traffic flowing, that would help. I mean, the other light that I think is a major problem is the one in Watermill. I mean, that everyone hates that light as well. It's another part of the town, obviously further from the village, but again, it gets way backed up just when that light turns red, and everyone's stuck again. So I think really part of this has to be a re-engineering of the road.
So what do those long-term re-engineering plans look like? And I know that there have been some proposed in the past. One of the things that I think is important for this task force to address is that, and it's a pretty major fear from the public, is that if you build it, they will come. And I think there's some truth to that, quite frankly. But how do we look at some structural changes that we can make that won't necessarily add to the amount of cars on the road, but will help improve flow, such as traffic circles, which I think is a really optimal approach to enhancing traffic flow. But I want to ask that question also, look to the past a bit. Have we done things in the past? Have we crafted plans that looked at these infrastructure changes?
Well, Michael, I would like to, if I can jump in on that. over the years, there have been a whole number of concepts, developed plans, not fully engineered out or whatever, but, multiple intersections, down by the Macy's intersection, all along County Road 39. We spent 2 or 3 years working with the county on a redesign of that, with, roundabouts. Watermill, there's been, actually, it started with a citizens initiative to design work roundabouts in at some of those key intersections. I think, we understand that, traffic signals generally improve safety and allow people to cross roads and do things like that, but they congest roads. One of the things, and I think the mayor just mentioned it, that, it's well documented that roundabouts improve traffic flow and decrease accidents. So, that's one of, various ideas, and, one of the thoughts I had was maybe in the second meeting, or second and third meeting or whatever, everybody dust off the plans that we have here, and bring them in, and let's, I know there's some new ideas. I know you've talked about, for example, the reversible lanes and, electronically.
Yeah, but isn't that not a waste of our time to look at when they're doing a study? Let them do their study. I mean, why are we looking back at what we think you should, let them do their study and see what they come up with. And we have to worry about the short term, like we're doing, I think.
And then
Okay.
after the study
I think-
comes out,
I'm-
we can
I'm
then
just
focus
throwing
on the back roads that are under our jurisdiction.
Right, okay, then maybe, I would say, maybe Charlie, this might be a good time. I mean, my question is, what's the timing on the study?
Okay, thank you. First, the contract has been awarded to AECom, which is one of the largest, if not the largest engineering company in the world. However, they have a local team dealing with this, which is critical to us. We want people that, inherently understand what the problems are. And the individuals working on it have personal experience along County Road 39 for a long time. Our plan is, and this study, we're trying to accelerate. It was one of the first things I did in the first week of January, was met with AECom and our engineering staff about finding ways to expedite this study. And one of the things we decided is that we're going to have a very early in the process meeting with the community. We're planning in sometime in May, where we will have established a variety of concepts. And we don't want to spend a whole lot of time getting bogged down in something that the community will not support. We also realize that we're never going to get 100% support, and I'm assuming everyone here realizes that as well. So I have directed these folks that we want to think big, because this problem's been around a long time. We've made some improvements, and then it's deteriorated again. But this is an opportunity to think really big, and so we're going to come up with a couple of ideas that are going to be extremely costly. But this is the time, in my mind, to do it. And we'll be looking at eminent domain on some options. We'll be looking at express lanes through the troublesome intersections. And certainly considering roundabouts, and traffic engineers, and, we can have them speak to this group at some point if you would like. We're considering those certainly, but they don't work in all instances. And we're speculative whether it would be useful in these conditions. And I think everyone here knows what some of the problems are. There's so many multiple driveways with the businesses, and there is, cross-access, and eliminating some driveways is a good thing, but that's also very tough on the businesses, as well as restricts some of their parking. And we are aware, and if any ideas come out of here that we have not thought of or been made aware of, we're going to have those evaluated, these popular ideas, and that'll be part of this May presentation. And if there's issues with them that we see, we'll identify them. And we're looking to get real feedback from this meeting in May.
And Charlie, can I ask you that, as we said, the county roads are critical component, and of course, the state roads are a critical component. We don't have a representative from the state DOT, on this committee, but I know you have a good working relationship with them. Would you think, it will be possible, because some of these aren't just going to be on County Road 39 or County Road 80, I would think, pulling them into conversations about some of their roads, maybe that's something we can talk about in the future,
You could certainly reach out to them, yeah.
because I think,
Yep.
39 leads into Montauk Highway, and County Road 80 leads into 27A, and, so I think we have to have that conversation with them, and hopefully your study would kind of bridge that
Right,
to work with them.
absolutely.
Charlie, what's your timeline?
Well, May, we're looking at May to be able to get community input.
That's
And,
based off like last year's data, I guess, from.
well, they're
the
collecting
27
data
counties?
now even, right, Bill? I'm looking-
Yeah, but,
Collect data in the spring, and also the summer.
Hmm.
okay.
Okay, spring and summer, for the folks that aren't picking up the mic here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the results of the study is,
Well, yeah, the result of the study, I don't even want to tell you how long it is, 'cause- but that's what we're working to expedite.
and we appreciate it.
If you don't have it, you don't have it, but can you provide us with a rough timeline on this for the scope?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
And another element of this that I think might be important, again, for perhaps a future meeting, and, Charlie and Bill Hillman from the county, who's here, he's not with us at the table, but he's here, worked, very well with him over the years. Funding. I think, we seem to have the commitment, after looking, back, 20 years of being involved in things, I think we have the commitment here, like we, have never had towards working on the roads. Another thing is funding, as we all know. So, maybe we can have that as part of, one of the future conversations.
Yeah, funding definitely needs to be a priority section in the final report.
Well, Fred's here to help with that.
Bill, you're always right.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually not a bad time for funding, because you have the federal infrastructure money that's out there. There's never enough capital money in the state budget for funding, and Charlie can speak to that, whether it's CHIPS funding or Bridge New York or whatever the program is.
They all have great names.
Yeah, and they all do good work, but there's just not enough of them. And we just maintaining existing infrastructure is a challenge. Building new infrastructure is a challenge. But the funding is that's down the line a little bit. I can tell you from the years of experience is that the harder part is reaching consensus on what those solutions should be. For me, this is my last year, but if I told you how many traffic studies I've sat in meetings like this for traffic studies in the last 30 years, there's a library full of traffic studies that are just for the South Fork, and we certainly need to update it, and we need to know what we can do. But there are certain limitations out there, and when you talk about Montauk Highway, from where the diner used to be, and you start heading east, that's not just Montauk Highway; it's the main street for every hamlet in the community, and with Watermill, Bridgehampton, heading east, and people don't want to mess with their main streets. So that you're going to get to a certain point, and the infrastructure is the infrastructure, and with County Road 39, there were previous studies about adding additional lanes, and they do involve eminent domain and taking of property and things, all of those are hard decisions. And, we shouldn't minimize that. And, but, there's some short-term things and Charlie McCardle and others have been like at the forefront of trying to do those things, and they're to be commended for that. The longer-term solutions are gonna be the harder, and, that's, to some degree, because, there are limitations, I think, to the improvements you can make in infrastructure is why, we've kind of looked at the Long Island Railroad, because it's the most underutilized infrastructure we have. I only half kid when I said, especially when it's not the summer, the trains, whatever trains there are from the railroad in the morning, you could take a nice 5 or 6 hour nap on the railroad tracks and not really have to worry about anything. There's potential there, and, the South Fork commuter connection has been, it's one of the few things I've done in government all these years where the only complaint I get is there isn't enough of it, and that is a limitation on infrastructure. And, we actually have some opportunities there that hopefully we'll get to. Maybe we can have the railroad, the MTA, to come out to one of these meetings also. So, I don't want to say the money part of this is going to be the easy, because it never is, but, trying to find things that you can get the community to agree to do I think is the bigger challenge. If it was easy, it'd already be done.
We're done, yeah.
No matter what we do, it's going to be very expensive.
Yep.
The big ideas that I'm encouraging that have been, discounted in the past will be super expensive. But not everyone, this is a very high-profile corridor, and not everyone takes helicopters that go out to the East End. And we have been, at DPW, have been successful, because the stars are kind of aligned right now with President Biden, Chuck Schumer, and we have gotten, good money, grant money on various projects we're involved in. This will certainly eclipse it by far, but I think, as Fred said, we have to at least think about things and not discount them right at the beginning.
Charlie, I just had one last question. It's my understanding that the County Road 39 ADA and drainage project was pushed to like 2028, 2029. Is that permanently on hold pending this study?
Which project?
The County Road 39 sidewalk and drainage project?
Yeah, we've pretty much
I just
abandoned that.
yeah, I just want
Could use that money for this.
It says
They'll
sidewalks.
take care of one intersection.
And just, just throwing things out there, because I think that's what we're doing today. I think we have to keep in mind, when it comes to County Road 39, that there is, it hasn't moved so far yet, I think, and the pandemic is part of that, but there's the plan to put, for Southampton Hospital to build a new hospital on the campus. And that, planning for County Road 39, that is still the plan. Even though things have slowed down, I think you have to take that into account.
Absolutely.
With this also, which is good in the way is that it's less traffic. 1,200 people work at Southampton Hospital. It's people that are not going all the way into the village, and it will be less, but it presents obviously getting emergency services vehicles in and out. You're going to need modification to the infrastructure just to be able to do that.
But if there's housing opportunities, that could cut down on the traffic as well.
Yeah.
So it'd be a nice opportunity there.
And maybe a new train station there.
Exactly. We
There-
definitely have to reactivate that.
Yeah, they're
station.
definitely the train station. If the hospital's there and, the campus is revitalized, there should be a train station. If you're gonna run South Fork Commuter Connection, there should be a train station there.
Yeah.
While we're talking about timelines, the US Open is ratcheting rather quickly towards us. Although in some calendars, that's probably long-term, it's not really in ours. It's more short-term. That's something that I think we should address. Doesn't have to be today, but I think we have to look at that.
May 2026, is
Yes.
June.
June.
And I think the amateur is the week before or the week after.
But-
So
But they've already set up a storefront in the village, from what I understand, right?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
No.
okay.
They,
Perhaps I'm
they,
wrong.
they have engaged the county executive's
So we don't
office
approve the
within the
permit.
past couple of weeks.
Yeah, they plan early there at the USGA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
don't
really,
mess around.
I've been through a couple of
Yeah, they've
them.
been in
Yeah.
contact. They've been in contact.
And
Could,
and they
can
do
I,
a good job, too.
can I ask Commissioner Bartha, where is the May presentation anticipated?
We're working on that.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I-
I wasn't worried about the where, I was worried about being ready.
Because I think we will have a May meeting, and if you wanted to wrap it up in this, it could be on it could be an agenda item, I'm just saying,
good idea.
you know, since it's a public forum.
You need a bigger room like the college room, the auditorium.
Auditorium.
We can use our auditorium.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
If you would like that, just keep that in mind as an
Yeah,
option.
we'll be in touch.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to raise with the supervisor and you, Councilman, is that I think honestly the town has to relook at the zoning along County Road 39 because that obviously contributes to the traffic, especially in the number of curb cuts. How many are entering and exiting on the side of the highway. Obviously, if no one ever entered or exited the highway, you'd be able to fly right along, but that's not the case, and that's not the way County Road 39 was built. But I think the town should really take a serious look at how the zoning is for that whole stretch of that corridor to make sure that it is compatible with what we are trying to do here, which is alleviate traffic on County Road 39, and we can't just keep adding more and more and more with more and more curb cuts, because it just doesn't work.
So I can just speak on that, just a touch. Those curb cuts are submitted to the county for approval, and our planning department does make every effort to require cross-access easements as they're developed. We can't go back in and talk to somebody with an existing site and make them have a cross-access, but
No,
as
sure.
they come to us,
Sure.
we absolutely look for that on our plans.
But Tom, the Southampton town is responsible for the zoning, not the county, along the side of the road.
So you're saying less businesses on County Road 39?
I'm saying you just have to look at the density that you're allowing on County Road 39 because you're just exacerbating the traffic. I understand what you're saying, but it's plain to anybody that drives along that road that it maxes out at certain times of the day. And you just can't keep adding and adding and adding, because how is that gonna work? You're disagreeing with me, Tom?
I'm not in the planning
No.
department, so I
Okay,
can't talk
okay.
about how we could rezone County Road 39. But I
Well,
just
I
want to
think
touch
it's
about
something that the
access.
town should take a
It's a
look at.
thought. Yeah.
But Tom, you did say we always require a cross-access easement in the
Yes,
back, yeah.
as they come in.
That's, at least that's a good thing.
And we do have to keep in mind, and I'm using very old data here when I throw this out, but something like 40% of the traffic, 45% of the traffic on County Road 39
Keeps
is
going.
going east.
That's correct.
So
But every time someone tries to enter or exit along the way, you gotta slow down if you're in that right lane.
we have, there's applications in front of the planning board right now that, have to be looked at very carefully.
Yeah. Very, very carefully, yeah. Thank you.
So, we didn't really, well, we did talk about traffic safety sort of in talking about the traffic congestion that we're facing. But next meeting, I'd like to focus on a little bit more about some safety items. Speed monitors, stop signs, all of those things. But for the next meeting, I want us to also think about guests. I think Assemblyman Thiel brought up a really great point. Maybe having some folks come here to discuss certain opportunities with us, such as somebody from the MTA to talk about the railroad.
Yeah, both the railroad and state DOT, I'm more than willing to, you tell me when the date is, and our office will
That'd be great.
get them here.
Thank
For
you.
whatever meeting you want to get them here.
Yeah. Thank you,
That's it.
Assemblyman.
Might have to hog tie him and bring.
We got them out here last time.
That's true.
If anybody can do it,
Great.
Assemblyman Thiel can do it.
That's right.
So if anybody has any thoughts about guests, even if you know of any engineers, people who might have some knowledge to provide to this task force, so that we have some information we can include in the final report, let's think about that. and we'll collectively put our heads together on that. And also specific meeting topics. If you have something you'd like to talk about and hash out in greater detail for the next meeting, email me or Paula, and we will get it on the agenda. Note for the public, if you have comments that you want to provide to us, we have an email, and that email is traffic@southamptontownny.gov. Again, it's traffic@southamptontownny.gov. In fact, Kevin, are you able to put that email down on the bottom of the screen to contact the task force? Our chairs, myself, Paula, the supervisor, have access to that email. So when you send it through, we will forward it to our chairs, and we can bring it up in discussion for future meetings if we find that they are pertinent to the discussion. So that would be great. I also, I guess one of the things that I wanted to focus on in terms of how do we define our priorities, we talked a lot about County Road 39. There are a lot of other areas in the town, specifically Hampton Bays, East Quad, Watermill. So there are a lot of different, Flanders was mentioned. We need to also think outside of 39. While 39, it's been determined, right, very crucial corridor. It's creating a lot of what we're seeing across the region, but we also need to go beyond that too. And what I'm hoping is that each meeting will have public portion to allow you, the members of the public, to come and talk to us about the problems that you're facing in your communities. Because maybe there's something that we could do here and now, especially if there's a significant need to improve traffic safety, for instance. The highway superintendent and I went out to Hampton Bays, as well as Tom Houghton, and we talked about, as well as the chief, we talked about Ponquag Avenue. We went into Remsenburg, met with the school district, talked about some of the issues going on there. So this is your opportunity as members of the public to inform us on what's going on in your communities, and we can kind of write all of them down, catalog them, and determine what we might want to do with some of these issues. So I guess since we're already an hour in, 6 minutes over an hour, let's move to the public portion. Are we okay with that? Did anybody have any last minute items? Great, so we're going to move to the public portion. We're first going to, by the way, I want to thank my legislative aide, Paula Godfrey, who is actually critical to this meeting. Take a look at all of these beautiful name cards. Thanks to our CRC department, but really Paula helped engineer that, and all of these nice, beautiful cards that you're able to write on. This wouldn't have been able to happen without Paula. So thank you, Paula. I really appreciate it. Yeah, round of applause.
Poor Paula.
Yeah.
All right, so first up is Larson. First and last.
I hope.
Don Larson.
Who's
Or is
got
it
the- who's
Mr.
got the
Larson or
buzzer?
Don.
Don? Sorry.
I
Okay.
just want to say thank you to everybody. My name is Don Larson. I'm a retired civil engineer. I worked for 31 years at the town of Brookhaven in their planning department with regards to new roads, old roads, all that type of stuff. I'm glad you just spoke a few minutes ago because I feel a little out of place here. I understand that it seems most of the conversation is for the eastern part of Southampton town. I live in little old Spionk, and we have nowhere near the problems you guys got out here in terms of all the traffic and stuff. We do, however, have a little bit of a problem with some of the maintenance on some of the roads that we have out there. Old Country Road and Spionk Riverhead Road are disasters. They're horrible roads. The intersection itself is horrendous. The asphalt's broken up. There is no drainage. The road itself on Old Country Road has direct runoff into wetlands. The idea of installing drainage is generally a highway payloader, just digging a hole in the side of the road and hoping the water goes away. Spionk Riverhead Road has residential zoning, commercial zoning, industrial zoning, all together on the same street, which is really a planning no-no, should never be connected. So we have all these tractor trailers, we have an asphalt plant, we have sand mines, tons of traffic. So a short-term solution to some extent would just to fix Old Country Road and do some work there. And there's no shoulder. Apparently the town is looking to build a ball field there on the Gables property that we talked about a little, Michael. And I would hope that before that ball field gets built, some major improvements would be done on Old Country Road, because there's gonna be a lot of kids, and there's gonna be bikes and people coming to that ball field. The long-term solution, or a long-term solution, might be, it's been talked about for many years, is opening up Spionk Riverhead Road to Sunrise Highway to alleviate some of this industrial properties and such, with potential money from the state and stuff. I know that's also a large project, but it really should be done. The design is already there, it's set up for, an exit and entrance, and that would help take care of some of the industrial traffic that is in residential areas and really should not be there, so, again, I just
Don,
wanna
had you
thank-
sent us an email on this?
I
I think I
sent one
remember
to-
reading,
yeah.
Michael forwarded
Yeah,
it.
I did, yeah, I sent, and I will gladly send any little thing I can to some extent from the far eastern.
I was gonna say, you don't have to send it again, because we've got it.
Yeah, I think we do have it, right, yeah.
It's in our list, emails
So I
to
just wanted to
review.
put that out there, I want to say thank you, everybody, and, enjoy.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, you'll have 3 minutes for each speaker. Next is Michael Daly.
Oh, yeah,
To the next one or something.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you, Michael, for bringing this, this group of experts together. On a local note, I would say one of the most severe traffic congestion areas is Noyak Road, for me as a Sag Harbor resident. It's changed dramatically over the years with the number of cars and trucks that are on it, and as more and more people kind of try to enter it and exit it, taking shortcuts. Sometimes to get to Southampton from Sag Harbor could be 45, 50 minutes if you take that. So, I've got my own little jaunts, come over Middle Line Highway, down this way, over across, over to Deerfield Road, over to, we've all had to make our, but the way that traffic backs up from Sag Harbor, goes through that great roundabout there in North Haven, but once it gets to Noyak Road, it can back up for 50, 60 cars during the evening rush hour. So the 3 things that I just wanted to mention and ask that you consider as you're doing your work is, number 1, we all know public transportation is important, and we've been working on that for a long time. I realized when my daughter was here and staying with somebody in Babylon and wanted to get back to us in the morning, it was almost impossible for her to get here from the morning. And when she was able to get to Spionk, the commuter connection had already left, or another one wasn't coming for a long period of time. And I was like, wow, so many of our folks have moved west, and some to Spionk, Patchogue, Shirley. If that could connect, that might help. That's number 1. So public transportation. The other thing is, please consider the Long Island Greenway that has been planned for a period of time. That will be bringing 200 miles of greenway from Manhattan to Montauk. And if that could be done sooner rather than later, Mr. Bartha, that might help take some of the alleviation of the need for sidewalks on County Road 39. If that greenway was done, then there could be walking paths and bicycle paths. And a lot of people say, well, nobody bikes on that area. Well, nobody bikes because they're scared to death to bike. I mean, you're so brave to bike to Flanders every day, but, and people say, well, nobody walks on that road because there's no sidewalks. You'd be dumb to walk on that road. So the Long Island Greenway might be an opportunity if we could get a stretch of it done here, and it would be nice. I might take my own electric bike, which I can just sit on, and go to Montauk someday if the Greenway was in place. But, so that's an option. The second thing I wanted to ask you to consider is housing, and any of you who know me know that I'm a housing advocate. I think we need to do more research, not in this committee, but as an East End, on where the housing really needs to be. We want to make sure that we have housing where the jobs are and where the people are working. East Hampton is doing a terrific job on housing for the township and has been for the last several years.
Michael is just gonna have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. And then number 3 is roundabouts. Roundabouts, I spent 3 weeks in Portugal and I was blown away. During that 3 weeks, I stopped about 5 or 6 times for red lights and 5 or 6 times for full stop signs. It was just like the kind of driving that I love. And I know we have mindsets over what about roundabouts, but I just ask that we really do some deep research on roundabouts, because they'll have to be done in an entire route. They're like your cone program. You see how the flow just works when you have the cones? And if you had roundabouts in these different areas, including Noyak Road, I bet you it would help us a great deal.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm a big advocate for traffic circles too.
Ali?
Good afternoon, and thank you all for the great work that you have started, and I look forward to hearing the results of this study and the work going forward. I'm a resident of 3 Diamond Court in Southampton, and I'm here to bring up an issue that many of you are aware of already, which is a right-hand turn from Flying Point Road into Diamond Court. There is a seasonal sign there from April 1 to September that you cannot make a right-hand turn from 6 in the morning to 8 o'clock. Unfortunately, nobody pays attention to the sign. There's no enforcement. And so last year, Tom, Charles, a lot of work was done to create a temporary solution where we had cones in the morning to enforce that stop sign. And that was a game changer. The traffic that comes through Diamond Court into Mill Farm Lane has become unbearable. It has become incredibly unsafe. Cars, trucks, even school buses speed through the neighborhood at unbelievable speeds. This is a residential neighborhood where people walk their dogs, children play in the morning, and children wait for school buses in the morning, and it has become incredibly dangerous. Traffic backs up, because this is a shortcut, right? Traffic backs up to Lower Seven Ponds, where people can't get out of their driveways. So my ask as a resident, and our community's ask, is, one, if we could extend the no right-hand turn sign to maybe 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, because at 8 o'clock is when the trade traffic starts. And we have hundreds of cars speeding in our neighborhood in the mornings, hundreds of cars. And people who have been there to watch it have seen it from the town. Number 2 is an issue of how do we enforce the sign, if we do extend it or the sign that is there. Because without enforcement, unfortunately, we know that people don't pay attention. And so the question is, what are the possibilities? I know that the police force has limited resources, so is a camera, a speeding camera, a viable option? I know it hasn't been done before, but maybe to think about something like that. And then third, if there was some talk about maybe putting up a gate, a temporary gate. We talked about the issues with fire trucks and ambulances, but to find a permanent solution. So short-term solution, permanent solution. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that we'll get to a solution soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry?
My name is Jerry LaMonica. I live on Dogwood Lane in Noyak. In fact, right across from where Steve D'Angelo was my neighbor. I've lived there for 20 years. Well, a lot of good things have been said here, but I think really we're missing the big picture. The big picture is, why are there so many people out here every day, right? I drive that, first of all, let me just say this, right? I work now as an Uber driver. I live in Noyak. I've lived there for 20 years. I'm an Uber driver. I make the claim that I drive more in this town of Southampton than anyone. Last year, I did over 30,000 miles in the town of Southampton. I see stuff you would not believe, right? I'm telling you. Coming in on County Road 39 in the morning, I was coming out once on a Saturday morning, right? Because I was up island, and I'm coming out here. I said, well, there's no trade parade on a Saturday morning. And I'm coming in, we're right past the Hills Station Road there, and traffic is all backed up. I go, what is this? It's a Saturday morning. So as I went a little further, I saw what the problem was. There were 3 girls, like in bikinis, walking down the road on the side of the road. And everybody, that's what slowed all the traffic up, right? So,
Finally, a good reason.
the number, I don't know if there's a record of how many building permits the town of Southampton issues, right? But every time there are houses in my neighborhood, and especially on Deerfield Road, on Millstone Road, I count there's over 20 vehicles at each one of these houses every morning, right? If you multiply that by, I don't know, 300 building permits that they're giving out to build all these mansions, I don't mind them building, right? But that's 6,000 cars a day. How are you going to get rid of 6,000 people a day, right? Another thing they did, the town of Southampton did years ago, they banned short-term rentals. Short-term rentals were a great thing. I used to rent my house to workers who came out to do work in the Hamptons, contractors. They would stay at my house. Keeps them off the road. People who come out as tourists, you can't stay overnight in the town of Southampton. So what do you have to do? You have to drive, you have to be a day tripper, come out for the day. How many people that is? How many cars are coming out every day, especially in the summer and the nice weather? So this is the problem. I mean, the problem is that we have to look at, like, again, the building permits. Now, you know what? So what the town's solution was, when they started having problems, like people would make noise at houses at night, instead of enforcing their own codes, what did they do? They banned short-term rentals, right? And took away my income. How about this? How about we just say, you know what? Landscapers can't come out on Friday and Saturday. Why don't we do that? They can make the same amount of money Monday through Thursday. That's what they told me. I couldn't rent my house anymore, and I can't rent my house. I can't make that money.
You're at 3 minutes.
Okay. I don't know. I see things people, the other gentleman said about Noyak Road. Noyak Road is like a video game trying to drive your car down. I mean, it's ridiculous. People speed, they try to run you off the road. County Road 39 has a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's a reason for that, because there's so many driveways and there's so many people in and out. No one does 35 miles an hour on that road. So coming in the morning, it's like taking all these, it's like pushing a bead down the stream. You're taking all these cars coming in off Sunrise Highway, and they're just going faster and faster. To where?
That's good points.
To the end of County Road 39, where the GPS tells you to go down Flying Point Road and make a left and come back out into Bridgehampton, or tells you to make a left on Head of Pond Road and come back Old Mill Road. So there's another jam up at Watermill. I wanted to be part of this task force, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be combative, but it's crazy out here. It really is. The traffic got crazy. And I think the rentals have something to do with it, that there's no more short-term rentals. And I also think I don't know, just people are talking about traffic circles. There's so many giant vehicles coming in, they couldn't even navigate a traffic circle.
So Jerry, we'd love to have you continue to have a dialogue
Thank
with
you.
us, and
Okay, thanks.
just stick around for sure. Next up is Marissa.
Hello, I'm Marissa Bridge from the East Quogue Civic Association. I'm here just to represent some of my members who are really excited about this this study. We think it's really important. And East Quogue, one thing that some of our members have talked about is that we have no bus or train service in East Quogue. The bus stops in Hampton Bays, and that's particularly difficult for our senior population. And I know there is a senior bus service, but not everybody, it feels like availing themselves of that. You have to plan ahead and all that. So that's one issue that people are concerned about. Another is the 200 homes going up in a mega development on Lewis Road, which is only a 2-lane road. And it also has a sand mine going off there. So there's already so many more gigantic trucks there than there used to be. And they're putting in some infrastructure now of, I don't know if it's underground water pipes or electric pipes, but Lewis Road, which is really our only road to go to 27, other than going to Hampton Bays or Quogue, is getting really jammed up already. So that's something people are concerned about. We also have a morning and evening rush hour traffic on Montauk Highway. People cut through East Quogue, and that's our main street. And again, it's not as bad as it is in Southampton. I don't want to say it's terrible, but to us, it's dangerous because that's a time when kids are going to school and it's difficult. So I just wanted to bring those things up. And one idea that we've talked about in our board meetings is possibly a parking lot somewhere where people could drive their cars and park and then get on a train or a bus and be taken to a central location further east, maybe east of Southampton, because I know a lot of people work from here further east, some way to really get the people, get the trucks off the road, the pickup trucks for the trade parade, and get them there without clogging up the roads. So that's it. Thank you. This is great. It's a great idea, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I just also want to state too, just for the public's edification, that there is a study going on CR 39, but that is a county study. What we are doing here is a task force to essentially craft a report that will hopefully be a blueprint on how we move forward with our traffic plans and infrastructure going forward. Just want to clarify that for the public. Tommy John Scavone, Councilman, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Councilmember. Tommy John Scavone, Councilman, Southampton Town. Thank you all for being part of this, and Councilmember Uselli, thank you for putting this together. It's certainly quite a group. I just want to kind of deliver one thing to this committee, and please add sidings on the Long Island Railroad to your conversations with this. And as many of you know, the infrastructure on the railroad, we need these sidings so trains can pull off, so other trains can go by, and increase the service, the train service on the Montauk line. And that's all. Thank you, and I look forward to the rest of your meetings.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to Zoom. Just so everybody knows and is aware, we have this room until 6 o'clock. So just I ask those who are on Zoom if there is anything that has been brought up already that you wanted to speak about. If you would possibly email our traffic email, that would be great. Just so we have enough time to fit everybody in. We'll try to get to everybody as the time allows. So Kevin, is there anybody on Zoom?
Yes, there is. You're the first person in now.
Thank you.
Where are they gonna be?
Hello. Oh, you're frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we could hear you and see you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Catherine Millfield, and I am supporting Ali's statement. I live on Mill Farm Lane, and I'm a prisoner in my house in the morning. I can't get out of my driveway. I have the same concerns as everyone else who is locked into their driveway. I can't walk my dog safely. I can't wheel my grandchild in a stroller. It's really very, very difficult. We met many times with Tom Howland, and he has proposals, which some of them could not be done because our street is really not it's a public road, and we can't put gates, and they told us we couldn't put speed bumps. So we have explored so many things. But the thing that Ali brought up is the fact that we have signage for 7 years that says you can't make a turn here during these hours for the safety of our children, and it is ignored, and there's no consequences. In a world where there's no accountability, it is very frustrating. In every borough of New York, if you go through a red light, if you speed and you are stopped, you are trafficked, you are given a fine, the town of Southampton supervisors refuse to implement any type of consequence situation. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Last year, Mr. McCardle came, and he put the cones, and he was there, I believe personally, and nobody made an illegal turn during those hours. So it works. But accountability also is important, and it brings fines, and fines brings money into your coffers to do things that you would like to do. As a president of an organization that has fines for rule infractions, we made money that have allowed us to do improvements in our facilities. So I think you should consider traffic cameras that yield fines and not be afraid to hurt anybody's feelings, and keep the safety of our residents in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have one last person from the audience here in person. Rachel? And then we'll go back to Zoom.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Thought I could raise my hand like at the town board
It's
meeting,
okay.
sorry. My name's Rachel Verno. I chair the CAC in Watermill. I also live in Watermill. So first, on behalf of our members of the CAC, thank you all for making time to sit on this committee, and also to just work on this. We recognize, and to hold these meetings too and engage the community. That doesn't always happen, so really thank you for that. I don't think I could ever, in 3 minutes, touch on everything that's going on in Watermill. Clearly, there's the 2 lanes of traffic merging into the 1 lane of 27. If you talk about widening County Road 39, at some point, you're gonna have to merge onto 27. I appreciate Fred acknowledging that the hamlets are very protective of keeping the feel of the hamlet. We had our CAC meeting on Monday night, and one of the things we talked about was the excessive speeding through the hamlet, because the hamlet is sort of now treated just as a pass-through and not really a hamlet center, which is unfortunate. It's a really nice hamlet. I know the light is the bane of everybody's existence, but there's an enormous amount of development that the planning board has approved because that's where the light is. Maybe the light should be on Deerfield, maybe it should be on Scuttle Hole. It's at Station Road. We have 37 new townhouse units there. It would be a shame to get rid of that light and have everybody move east to Noadana, which is a really dangerous place to make a left turn. So I think now that light is on trigger plates, so it's a really long light, but I think it would be unsafe to get rid of that. The other thing I would just say, maybe in terms of process, there'd be the ability to have sort of smaller meetings just for the back road issues, so I don't have to take up everybody's time here. That's sort of, we have a lot of overflow on the back roads. Maybe whether it's through a CAC meeting or smaller meetings, we could meet with Tom and Charlie, and maybe Chief Kiernan, just to sort of talk about. I know there's a committee to really shut down Diamond Court. As a chair of a CAC, you sort of start to go down the road, which roads that are public roads do you close? Someone's here from Little Cobb. I'm sure she'd like her road shut down in the mornings. I live on Head of Pond, people live on Old Mill.
Yeah.
So I just don't know where you sort of end that, so I get it, and I know that group, it's not a private road, maybe they want to privatize it, I don't know. But putting up gates, I just get a little nervous about that. And I have a lot of friends who live in that area, but that does sort of concern me. One of the things that came up at our CAC, obviously the trains and mass transportation, you're only gonna solve this problem long-term if you get some of the cars off the road. And you're only getting cars off the road if you offer people a way to commute. That's just the reality. So, I would
3 minutes,
say,
Rachel.
sorry, I would just say whatever the community can do to push the MTA and the county to get that funding, to get that going, I think would be terrific. And, the big thing that came out of our CAC meeting, and I said I would relay it to all you guys, was putting a moratorium and stopping all construction during the height of the season until we solve this problem. It's radical, it's not gonna be popular, but in short term, you may have to do things like that, where you just say, we're gonna limit construction, building permits, while we're sort of dealing with this problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Kevin, we'll go back to Zoom. And just, I want to reiterate for those who are speaking on Zoom, if we've covered your concern already, if I might ask you to just pass your concerns, that way we can reach everybody. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I'm Phil Smythe, and I'm the president of the Remsenburg Association. And first off, I'd just like to say that the mere existence of this panel is a dramatic step forward, I feel, by the town in addressing the traffic safety and concerns in the town. More attention and progress has been made in Remsenburg in about the last 6 months by the town of Southampton than in the preceding 10 years. So you're really on the right track here and addressing things of widespread concern. I mostly want to touch, yes, some things have been mentioned. I just want to touch on them again real quick. Spionk Riverhead Road, especially intersection with Old Country Road. This is a widespread concern in our area, and I hear about this over and over again, even though it's sort of outside of Remsenburg. Building permits. Okay, this is a very big issue in Remsenburg. We have a lot of construction activity going on, and the traffic and so on that's associated with those heavy construction traffic is definitely an issue, coupled with just increased utilization, delivery vehicles, and so on. The woman from Watermill Civic Association brought up the idea of speeding and the fact that this sort of degrades your identity as a hamlet in Hamlet Center if everyone is just sort of zipping through, what's really sort of the center of your hamlet, what you're trying to define as the center of your hamlet. I think this is a very big issue for Remsenburg on South Country Road, where we have a lot of pass-through traffic and also traffic headed for destinations in Remsenburg, using South Country Road really as sort of a mini arterial to do this, and we need additional measures. I know that we've proposed crosswalks and so on to the town, and I really encourage the town and Mr. McCardle as superintendent to continue to move ahead with some of these ideas. And the Remsenburg Association also, of course, on its own initiative, has installed 2 radar speed signs. We have direct evidence statistically that these do improve traffic speeding issues just from people seeing them, and we really appreciate the additional radar signs that were placed in the school zone at the request of Superintendent Sullivan, and also the floating radar speed sign that has been placed in various locations in our area. These do work. We have statistical evidence of that from our own data, from our own signs, and just thank the town for what it's done and look forward to working with them in the future. I think we have a very good agenda laid out. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, Kevin, next.
Yeah, we have one more.
Hello? Oh, you're muted.
Can't hear you.
Andrew, we can't hear you.
Can't talk, he's on the jitney.
We still can't hear you.
We can't even see you now.
He called the planning board from his car.
Andrew,
Said, "You're
we
driving, I'm
can't
not
hear
gonna
you.
talk to
Do you want to try one more time? Unmute yourself. Should be
Can
on
you
the.
guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta do it this way without the video, sorry. Andrew Roof of Mill Farm, and I just wanted to say thank you guys very much for organizing this. I think the town, as you can hear from some of the people, desperately need this looked at across the board. So thank you guys for putting this together, Councilman Iselli and everybody else for being there. And I definitely think, one of the things I think it was Mayor Manger said about looking at possibly freezing some of the expansion on CR 39 or 27. I know there's two proposals to add medical offices, one at the old diner that's now the lunch lobster roll, and a little bit further down. And I mean, all this continued development, while welcome and appreciated, seemed to be ad hoc. And I think we kind of, a moratorium, as Rachel Verno mentioned, might be something, I know, controversial, but would be worth looking at as we're trying to reduce traffic. All these medical buildings bring more and more people, and I know they have as of right to build them, but I do think that's something. And then I would definitely like to say, I hope that we're gonna consider speed bumps. I know it's not popular with the highway department. I hope we can find a way to work with them to make it so it's less intrusive as they do their important work. And maybe we can also look at, as people have said, traffic cameras, speed cameras, any of these kind of different solutions, because especially on the back roads, it is incredibly dangerous and a really critical point, as I'm sure you guys are aware. And I just wanted to throw those things out there that I know they've probably been mentioned. And thank you again, and we look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Andrew. Kevin, is there anybody else?
That would be all on Zoom.
Okay. So Supervisor has a question, and then we'll adjourn. Maybe if anybody else has a comment, and then.
3 people now have asked about the traffic cameras, not the digital speed signs, but cameras, and I didn't think those were allowed out here, but I'm not sure what the status is.
You
I know
would
they have them
need
in the city.
to have cameras that where you are enforcing speed, actually enforcing.
Yes.
You need state legislation to do that. The only authorization that there ever was has been in school zones.
New York City, right?
New York City, Nassau and Suffolk had that authorization. When they tried to implement it in Nassau County, the Titanic had a better rollout than speed cameras in Nassau County. And Suffolk never did, and the authority ran out. So, but the short answer to your question is, any enforcement of speed limits with speed cameras would require state legislation. I did just get a letter from the East End Mayors Association on this same topic.
Oh.
You know, so one of the things about speed cameras, and I think a lot of folks have brought it up to us about a possible way to mitigate some of the speeding cars. But I know some people fear cameras in their communities. It's just a general thing, privacy rights, etc. What if could we do speed cameras and have the town issue like a letter, like noting that, and it might seem counterintuitive, but at least it's a step, because I don't know if the community is going to be fully comfortable with speed cameras, but could we just issue a letter from the town that states, we have caught you speeding, and we're warning you about this? Is that a possibility?
They're just not enforceable. I know you might want to talk with some of, like, the Suffolk Mayors Association, Nassau Mayors Association. They especially in Nassau, they've had some discussions about this.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to be enforceable.
Right. it kind of just gives the drivers the
Yeah.
idea that the town knows that you've done something, and maybe they'll change behavior, and it might be the first step in seeing if that does anything. But I don't know if that's even something that would be effective in the long term.
Hire more cops.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any comments, Chief, about some of the
There is
traffic?
no doubt, like what we heard today is a fraction, a really very small fraction of the complaints that come in. And the speeding vehicles are a huge problem. County Road 39 is 35 miles an hour, like a gentleman said. Nobody goes 35 miles an hour. We can stop fatalities on County Road 39 if we slow people down. No doubt about it. Yeah, we do need manpower. We do need manpower to address the complaints of speeding vehicles and people with aggressive driving in general, distracted driving. We do need bodies.
Something like 85 to 90% of drivers admit they speed, so.
Yeah, and the other 15% are lying.
License in a week.
Another thing that was brought up too were the speed monitors, especially the ones that Phil Smythe referenced, noting how significantly the traffic has improved just from the installment of them. And I think the ones, and Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, the ones that were installed recently are the ones that really flash very brightly. If it's almost as if there's like a cop car that's flashing their lights in front of you, which radically changes your driving behavior because you don't want to get pulled over. Where are we on our stock of those? And Tom H., you feel free to weigh in.
Yeah, so if I may speak to that, our intermodal transportation budget line has monies for 4 school speed flashers, as well as a handful of others.
Okay.
If we do want to add more, we will need significant funding to pay for those. They are not inexpensive.
There's about 3,500 apiece.
On the low end, yes.
They are very effective for a short period of time. Behavior modification is the only long-term solution, so people do need a consequence for it to be lasting. But yes, the people that say they are making a difference, I do believe that. They do make a difference for a short period of time.
Do you remember in East Hampton, they used to have the police car with the dummy in it?
Yeah, Manny Quinn.
Till they stole
Well, they named him.
Till they stole the dummy. So for short term, it does work. I gotta admit, and I do have a little bit of a law enforcement background, they need more people. You can talk about all the speeding, and look, you're in traffic, you see there's some daylight, and you're gunning it till you get in traffic again. There's no doubt about it. But I have to be honest, like, I left 20 years ago, there was 106 cops. They're just at 106 again. 20 years went by and they don't have more police than they had. It doesn't make sense. You need at least 20 more. You need a unit that can address these speeding vehicles and a unit that weighs the trucks. You could have a sign on every street, no trucks, and what happens? There's nobody there to enforce it.
Chief, would the TCOs fall under that unit categorization?
No, they can't do enforcement. Parking enforcement is
Okay.
Southampton Village, I believe, sent some people to weigh the trucks.
Yeah.
So they have some enforcement and they're big fines, so those trucks know which streets to stay off of. The town of Southampton has 450 miles of roadways. The police department used to have a highway unit dedicated to morning traffic and afternoon traffic, and they don't have anyone to weigh the trucks. They need about 20 more people.
What did they have, the weighing?
Yeah, so you have
scales?
trucks that are taking these back roads, there's no enforcement.
Yeah, but how do you?
We have scales. The village has scales.
Yeah.
Now, where do you, because we looked at this a number of years ago, and where you pull them off on the road was always a question. I don't know where you guys.
Well, it's usually
have
on
it.
residential streets in the village.
Right, but if you
'Cause
pull them
that's-
over on Head of Pond, you're blocking a lane of traffic.
No, you could
You have to
find,
find a
There are a lot of
location to
roads,
do it.
there are a lot of roads in this town that could use scales, and we've been invited to borrow their scales to
Yeah, we share.
yeah,
they're-
we do share well.
Great.
We do share well. So, yeah, no,
If you have a place to pull them over.
yeah. I mean, there are trucks right now going through Fanning and the neighborhoods in Hampton Bays. There are trucks right now going through there that we'd like to stop. But,
3-ton bridges.
right. And the bridges throughout the town, the little bridges.
Sagaponic has a big issue.
Sagaponic.
So the weight of vehicles is something that can be addressed.
Oh, yes. We just have signed many streets in the village, reminding drivers about the weight restrictions on those streets. So now, we're able to pull people over on those streets and give them hefty fines. Yeah.
At the time I left, there were probably about 25 roads in the town that had the weight restrictions on them. I don't know if any have been added since I left, but there's about 25, mostly in the.
We haven't added any. It's also not arbitrary. There's guidance
Yeah.
from the local roads program, so it's
Right.
not just it's a residential street, no trucks. That's not the case. We do need to actually study each one of them.
Yeah, well, the village retained a traffic engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Who came in, looked at all of our streets, and identified the streets that they thought they should be placed on, and that's how we did it.
Besides the traffic and safety issue, overweight trucks damage the roads.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's a good point. So we're coming up 10 to 6. We're going to probably adjourn. I just want to say that we're looking at May 1st at 6 p.m. We want to try to have a later meeting just to accommodate folks that may get out of work and want to attend. We may not have, all of our meetings won't be 6 o'clock. We might just have 1 or 2 more meetings. So May 1st at 6 is our tentative next meeting. And for those, again, that want to issue your comments and concerns to this group, you can email traffic@southamptontowny.gov. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.